This adaptation has some bite. Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 best and worst bits of Dracula 2020. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly in the recent Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat adaptation of Dracula. Be warned, there are major plot details ahead, so if you haven't seen the show or read the book, prepare to have them spoiled.
As if all this was nothing but a sick game. I submit this is all the evidence we need.
Number 5. The Vampire Baby. Worst. In Stoker's novel, the presence of a baby is only alluded to, so briefly that you may have forgotten if you're not fully up to date with your Dracula lore. It's suggested that Dracula feeds his bride's human children when Harker witnesses a wriggling bag. In the show, they decide to forego subtlety entirely and gave us a fully realized vampire baby, which crawls towards Harker in a small tunnel and is only briefly glimpsed. While many of the special effects in the show are great, the ones that aren't leave more of a mark. And this baby looks more like something from a Chucky movie than a gothic novel.
I think I might keep it on for a while. I hope this doesn't mean that I'm getting sentimental.
Number 5. Trying something different. Best.
It's a toilet. I'm a vampire. Why have you given me a toilet?
In any adaptation, changes to the source material can go either way. You'll get people who think the changes offer a unique spin on a familiar story, and others who think the original is perfect and shouldn't be changed for any reason.
Forget about the chess and concentrate on the game. Who's in cabin number 9?
Regardless of how well you think they did, at least Moffat and Gatiss tried to do something different with the incredibly familiar ground of Stoker's Dracula. Expanding Dracula's journey on the Demeter to a full episode with a murder mystery twist is something that hasn't really been done before, and the reveal that Sister Agatha was the sickly passenger in room number 9 was a truly great twist.
It's me. I'm in cabin number 9.
Number 4. The dead are conscious. Worst.
Do not let them burn you.
Why not?
It hurts.
During Dracula's long seduction of Lucy Westenra, the pair of them visit a graveyard, and it's revealed that the dead are still conscious. The biggest problem with this is that it's the exact same twist as the Series 8 finale of Doctor Who, Dark Water and Death in Heaven, even with the same scenes of the dead begging not to be cremated.
Don't cremate me. Don't cremate me.
Both written by Stephen Moffat, it seems he thought his idea was so good he had to use it twice, in exactly the same nonsensical way. On top of that, there's a bizarre conflation of zombies and vampires, so much so that it's tricky to tell which supernatural creature is which by the end. Number 4. Dark Comedy. Best.
I don't know about you girls, but I do love a bit of fur.
It's always a good idea when dealing with serious subject matter to lighten the load a little with some humor, and this is clearly what they were going for by turning Dracula into a comedian. Despite being the world's most famous vampire, he can sometimes be a bit of a dull character, but luckily, that isn't the case here. Throughout all 3 episodes, he barely goes a minute without coming up with a joke or a one-liner, and it's definitely solid entertainment.
Every particle of her being incinerated.
Stings a bit, I believe.
Luckily, he doesn't have to bear this burden all on his own. Sister Agatha is just as witty as her nemesis.
You know what a vampire is, don't you? A foul, stinking, slouching monstrosity.
Number 3. Lucy character assassination. Worst.
Maybe I'm saving myself.
For dinner. For D.
The girl Dracula terrorizes when he travels to Whitby. In the novel, Lucy represents the innocence and goodness Dracula destroys. And in fact, she loves all 3 of her suitors equally and is Mina Harker's closest friend. In the show, she has been transformed into a promiscuous and superficial social media influencer.
2 minutes. You've still got the appetite?
Worse, after she dies, Dracula doesn't even rescue her from cremation, instead letting her burn and ultimately beg for death. Lucy's character destruction goes hand in hand with Mina's, who is one of the novel's most important characters, but here, she's only ever seen in the first episode.
I've been dying to meet you.
It's sad to see two iconic female characters reduced to this. Number 3, it's scary, best. Victorian horror rarely proves frightening to our modern tastes, so the big challenge any Dracula adaptation faces is making the story truly scary again. While the baby missed the mark, there are plenty of other scenes that will have you on the edge of your seat. Gruesome moments like the fly crawling behind Harker's eye and the bride who turns her head all the way around may also be homage to other horror giants. In this case, The Exorcist, and the part where one of them crawls out the box is reminiscent of the iconic staircase scene in The Grudge. But the coolest part of all might be when Dracula violently emerges from the body of a wolf. Number 2, all of episode 3, worst.
How did you recognize it? Can't look like any camera you've ever seen.
I've been around since the 15th century. Things change. You get used to it.
While the first 2 episodes stuck close to the story of Dracula's attempt to travel to England, the last episode has him firmly transplanted from Victorian times to 2019. Moffat and Gatiss clearly couldn't resist the allure of giving the Sherlock treatment to another canonical character, and the move did not go down well.
Sorry. Already have dinner plans.
I am trying, Dark Lord.
Gatiss himself shows up to play the role of Renfield, now Dracula's solicitor who acquires victims for him, while Dracula himself scours dating apps for food. He bursts into tears watching a nature documentary, while Dolly Wells is roped in to play an identical descendant of Sister Agatha. This and other recasts beg the question of why the time jump was necessary at all.
The darkness of Dracula shall guide us to the light.
I'm dying.
Number 2, Sister Agatha, best.
Quite understandable.
Like Dracula, Van Helsing is a character easy to get wrong, but this is one of the few big changes that actually works in this adaptation's favor. Abraham Van Helsing becomes Agatha Van Helsing, a nun with a strong interest in the occult and a killer sense of humor.
In future, get your priorities right. There's a vampire on board this ship.
She's funny and clever, the perfect rival for this newer Dracula, and frequently outsmarts him. Even after she's dead, she can't keep away, and her great niece Zoe steps up to finally rid the world of Count Dracula once and for all. Flipping the gender of such a famous character is risky, but it definitely paid off, and as likable as Bang's Dracula was, you couldn't help but root for Agatha.
Go ahead. I win. The last thing your eyes will ever see is the contempt in mine.
Number 1, the ending, worst.
It's 93 million miles away. It really isn't going to hurt you.
I don't understand.
The finale just gets worse and worse the longer it goes on, culminating in the reveal that all the rules that bind Dracula, having to be invited in, intolerance of religion, aversion to sunlight, etc., are mere eccentricities and habits he has formed over the centuries. Dracula's dark secret is that all along he's been ashamed of his fear of death. So ashamed that he just hasn't died.
You will live forever in shame.
It turns out he won't burn in the sun, religion won't actually harm him, and he doesn't need to be invited in. After all that, Dracula and Zoe, now possessed by the spirit of Agatha after their DNA connects, die together in a fiery embrace. Apparently, they were secretly in love the whole time.
It's beautiful.
Before we unveil our top pick, here's some honourable and dishonourable mentions.
We are under attack from the forces of darkness.
Why would the forces of darkness wish to attack a convent?
Perhaps they're sensitive to criticism.
Number 1. Claes Bang as Dracula. Best.
From beginning to end, death completes you.
It's a bold choice to cast someone relatively unknown in the UK to lead an adaptation of Dracula, but Claes Bang proved he was perfect for the role. As soon as he starts to regain his youth by feeding on Harker, it's clear we're in for a treat, and if the story starts to deteriorate, at least the acting stays strong all the way through.
I told you. Lovely Dorabella. I'm a vampire.
Bang can portray both Dracula's sense of humor and the tragedy of his situation, seemingly cursed to never see the sun again. It's clear that all the actors are enjoying themselves and are very well cast, and Dolly Wells is more than a match for this great vampire.
Well, this is a first.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo UK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.